So it took full 252 days between the end of the St. Croix 1500, where Diswood claimed his first championship with the Track Stars Touring Car Series. We are now back here at the Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit for round one of the 2022 Track Stars Touring Car Series. We're right into qualifying straight away, and Diswood, of course, our defending champion, leading the way. He'll be the first guy to lay down a lap time around this circuit as we follow on board with him as he heads down the hill towards the Seaside hairpin. As you can see, the cruise ship's out in the background. He's getting a nice exit there out of the hairpin, heading towards what is affectionately known as the chicane of death. It's going to be a tricky one for these cars to navigate this time around. The physics models have changed between Gran Turismo Sport and Gran Turismo 7, so it's going to be a lot harder for these guys to negotiate the tracks this time around. As Diswood heads around the final corner, he's going to set the first lap time of this qualifying session of a 1 minute 21.7. He comfortably goes to the top over speedy tyres. He's a few tenths behind. Coming for you, only manages a 122.6. Disappointed a bit off the pace with a 127.8. And then Broccoli jumping up to 4th place. A number of drivers jumping in and out of that top 5. EBM, Brandosa. Lurox leapfrogged him into 5th place. He's now down to 6 as Ridwan F1 takes his place in the top 5. Ando 787 crossed the line in 8th place there. We've got Gabans rounding out the top 10. So we've got, let's see who's next up to cross the line. I believe it's Speedy Tyres, so he's on another flyer. He's certainly going to have the pace over Diswood this time around, so let's take a look and see what he can manage for a lap time as he crosses the line. No, he's heading straight towards the pit lane. So he's abandoning his lap. See what coming for you can produce this time around. Goes faster at 122.1, so that puts him up to 3rd. Disappointed, much better lap time that time around. He jumps up to 4th place with a 122.9. Broccoli into 5th with a 123.1. Just slightly ahead of EBM Brandosa. Of course, our 2020 champion, N-Spud P666, he's up in the 7th place. And yeah, one driver making his return is SDRT Wazadon. He took part in the early stages of last season and then had to drop back his commitments due to work. And now he's back on board again for another crack at the Touring Car Series. Currently sitting in 9th place. Of course, he's part of one of the returning 5 teams, the Shade On Racing team. Of course, the other 4 returning teams, you're looking at CP Motorsports with the likes of Diswood and Duram 50, who's made the step up from TS2 last year. We've got Mash Spuds Racing, who has N-Spud P666 and coming for you 194, who's also been moved into the main team of Mash Spuds Racing. Unfortunately, Puntz couldn't take his place in this squad this year, so we'll be missing Puntz this year, but hopefully he can rejoin us at some point, and we very much look forward to having him on the grid eventually. Then of course the It's Racing Esports team, we've disappointed taking over the number 95 car from myself, and then EBM Brandosa coming across from the EBM Motorsports team. Then we have Lurox, who's actually filling in for Colin T24 in the Robbo Sport team. And he's joining Loudy Darkmist, who will be a full-time driver as well. And then here's the first of the new entries for 2022. The Intercontinental Esports Racing team. We've got Broccolilli driving the number 13 car. And then Gabans, who was with It's Racing Esports last year. He's taken his number 55 across to the ISAR team. So they're the new team in the Lexus, who's replacing Pit Lane Esports, who decided to leave after the end of last season. And then the second of our new teams is Satellite Racing, who of course we've got Ridwan F1, who won a number of races last year and was a very dominant force when he was on his game. And then of course Speedy Tyres, who is just taken over pole position at this stage. He of course was part of the Bathurst 1000 winning team last year with Diswood 1 driving the CP Motorsports Honda. And now he's moved across to the Nissan. Satellite Racing of course taking on the Nissan, well, the third Nissan team that was vacated by EBM Motorsports. So I think we're starting to get close towards the end of the session now. We'll start to see some times coming in quickly as the fuel loads decrease, fresh tyres get thrown on. Of course, Speedy Tyres heading to pit lane again. Diswood looks like he's on a flying lap time, so we'll have a watch and see what happens to him. He'll be one to watch as he heads to the final corner of this lap. Great exit there from him. Let's see what time is as he crossed the line. No, it's only 1:32, so not a fast lap from Diswood. Duram 50's jumped up to third place. Less than a tenth of a second behind Coming For You in the number 45 car. We'll have to say, I'm expecting this will be one of the most hotly contested seasons we've had for quite some time. I'd say that there's quality drivers spread out across nearly all 7 teams. You'd be hard pressed to pick a definite favourite for this one. And there's a number of drivers that very much capable of taking race victories on their day. It may be about who can be more consistent across the course of the season and rack up those second and third place finishes. We'll follow along. Spud's crossing the line. We'll try and find a driver that's looks like they're going to complete a lap. I'd say Lurox is probably our best bet here as he comes around the final corner, makes the run towards the finish line here. Let's see if he can improve from a 10th place starting position. No, it looks like he must be on a outlap of some sorts. A lot of slow cars going on, so I don't know whether the session's actually come to an end. I'm assuming that might be what the case is. Looks like Speedy Tyres heading across to finish his lap. Coming for you, he's just jumped himself up to third place. So it looks like everyone's finished their laps. And qualifying's complete for round 1 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series for 2022. And it's the new team on the block, Satellite Racing, who draws first blood with pole position. Speedy Tyres laying down the first marker of this year with a 1 minute 21.5 to take pole position. Defending champion Diswood will join him on the front row in the number 1 CP Motorsports Honda. And then on the second row will be Coming For You 194 and Duram 50 in the sister CP Motorsports Honda. Then 2 contenders from last year, Disappointed and N-Spud P666, closely joined together just like they were last year in a battle for third place in the championship. And then Broccolilly will be starting from position 7. Then we'll have Lurox 22 from position 8. SDRT Wazadon in 9th. Ridwan F1 starting in 10th in the second Satellite Racing Nissan. Ando 787, I think we forgot to mention him earlier on. He'll be joining SDRT Wazadon in the second Shadon Racing Team Nissan. He's starting out of position 11. Then I believe we have Gabans, EBM Brandosa and Loudy Darkmist, although I think the order's jumbled up a little bit. I believe at one point Gabans was down in 14th, so might have to check back a little bit later for that one and see where the actual starting positions are, as Brandosa and Loudy Darkmist are both sitting in pit lane, so not sure how that'll work with the start of the race. They might need to get back onto the track and reclaim their position. Of course, one thing you may have picked up already on the stream, for those that have followed along the last couple of seasons, you probably might have noticed that all cars ran the Dunlop tyre branding. Well, this time around we've decided to open things up a bit and let all the teams choose their preferred tyre brand. Obviously, the likes of Satellite Racing, as you can see on the stream, have gone for the Bridgestones. CP Motorsports have gone with the Yokohama tyres. It's Racing Esports have gone with Bridgestones as well. The Mash Spuds duo have gone with, well, stuck with the Dunlops that have been used previously. The Intercontinental Esports group have gone with the Hankook tyres. RoboSport Racing have gone with the Michelins for this year. The Shadon Racing team have obviously gone with Bridgestone as well, which has proven a popular choice amongst some teams. But yes, we've got a fair bit of variety this year. apologies for the quick bit of downtime there, just had to attend to a quick situation. It could have threatened to derail the stream there quickly, but got that quickly sorted. Hopefully don't have to deal with it again. Turn off the notifications. That way we don't have them popping up on the screen during the racing. Of course, a big shout out to Wesley, also known as Deadpool amongst the Track Stars races. We certainly miss seeing you on the grid as well, and maybe one day we might be able to see you back on the grid with us. Of course, Deadpool was a very fast racer in his own right and picked up a number of race victories along the way in the early parts of last season. And then of course Brian East showing off his Super GT Championship knowledge with a comment about the Bridgestone races being a popular choice, and I did notice that as well in the last few years when I was looking at entry lists for Super GT races. I noticed that Bridgestone was a very popular choice amongst the Super GT teams in the GT 500 category. So we're in a bit of a holding pattern at the moment, waiting for cars to line up. I'm assuming we'll eventually get into some racing. Of course, this will be classed as a sprint round. So we'll have all cars running the soft tyres for the duration of the event. There will be one compulsory pit stop during both races, which can be taken at any time during the race. Obviously, if you want to pit on lap 1 and try and run 23 more laps on the second set of tyres, then we'll definitely allow you to do it, but you may be in a world of pain towards the end of the race as your tyres are worn out. And alternatively, if you want to go the Alex Albon strategy and run 23 laps on a set of tyres, then we'll allow you to do that as well, but it's very likely that it probably isn't the ideal way to run the race. Of course, the other thing with the sprint rounds is that the only time we might see the safety car is for a turn 1 incident. Whereas in previous occasions, we've sort of only done it for like the 60 kilometre races. We've extended that ruling on the safety car to the, I'll call it the dual races, the rounds where we have 2 races of 125 kilometres. So those ones will be a bit more lenient on the safety car. Of course, it actually is missing in action tonight. The 2 drivers we had lined up, one has an early start tomorrow, and then the other had already committed to some family time, so we are left without a safety car for the moment. But nonetheless, I'm sure between all the drivers they'll deal with it accordingly. Obviously still in a bit of a holding pattern due to Diswood having to rejoin. Not sure what the situation will be there in regards to starting lineups. We might have to find a way to work around it. As you can see on the chat history there, the officials involved, well, that are in the race lobby, in the party chat, giving Woodsy 1 lap to set a time. Hopefully it'll give him the option to get himself back into his rightful place on the grid. So let's jump on board with him and do a lap around the Dragon Trail circuit. Let's head through to flat out turn 4. Hard on the brakes into what I'd call the northern hairpin or the mountainside hairpin. And he comes up through the gears into this downhill S's section. You have to be really delicate there, balancing the throttle, trying to hold control of the car, as he's done very well there. High speed run down to this Seaside hairpin, and then very delicate on the throttle on the corner exit as you head into the bus stop, or what is more commonly known as the Death Chicane. And Woods has done an amazing job through there. Of course, anytime you can get through that chicane without slamming the wall and taking on damage is a very successful entry and exit to that chicane. He comes around the final corner now. Let's see what kind of lap time he can put up. And crosses the line. And, well, that takes him to the top. Although I believe actually that will probably put him down the order a little bit, as he's out there on his own. Yeah, he's sitting down in 4th at the moment as everyone heads back out onto the track. Not the second place he did have, but still a lot closer up the order than what it could have been. Had he not been able to set a lap time at all, that would have had him down in 14th position. So we'll have a quick run through the order here. Speedy Tyres, of course, on pole position. Looks like Coming For You will be on the front row with him. Dram 50 and Diswood. So 2 CP Motorsports cars sharing the same row. Loudy Darkness in 5th, Disappointed in 6th. 7th for N Spud P666. Then Broccolilli joining him on the 4th row. Then we'll have EBM Brandosa 34, Lurox 22 rounding out the top 10. And then our final 4 starters look like it'll be SDRT Wazadon, Ridwan F1, Ando 787, and then Gabans rounding out the field. So fingers crossed things are more sorted now, and we'll get to racing very shortly here at the Track Stars Racing Series. Alright, we're all set, ready to go here. Cars are lined up on the grid. And we're getting ready to go racing here in round 1 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. 5 lights. And they're out and we're racing. It looks like Speedy Tyres is off to a good start here. As he gets off to a great start, he's off into the lead. I'm not sure what's going on here with the camera. We're going to have to jump out and back in. So Speedy Tyres already building a great advantage here in the opening lap. As we've got Diswood in second and Disappointed following closely behind in third, and the 2 Hondas. It looks like we're calling for a virtual safety car already, so it looks like there's been an incident further down the field. Broccolilli obviously involved. So quickly back to yellow flag conditions on the race start, but brilliant start there by Speedy Tyres, who's gotten himself into the lead here. Then Diswood running second, Disappointed in third, and N-Spud P666 in fourth. And then we have Loudy Dark Mist rounding out the top 5. Wazadon made a good start there, jumped up to 6. Ridwan F1 has some damage to his car in 7th place. Gaban sitting in 8th. Lurox has got front and rear damage to his aero. Similar situation for Duram, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Coming for you also with damage, so quite a few cars involved in this. Ando 787, he's clear of damage, so this might vault him up the order a bit. And EBM Brandosa, he's taken on some heavy damage there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at least 5, 6 cars involved in this one. Although in the case of Spud, I'm not certain he actually had damage. I think he might be using this as a bit of a tactical play, possibly. Get some slightly fresher tyres on the car. Can certainly take advantage of that early on in the race. So Broccoli last of the cars to make a tour of pit lane, repair his damage. So Speedy Tyres leading the field at this point. Not sure if we'll be going back racing. Although I feel like we are going back racing by the looks of things, because of the speed that Speedy Tyres is carrying on at. Looks like we are back racing, so Speedy Tyres jumping out to a 1 second lead again. Diswood 1 following closely behind in 2nd place. And then Disappointed right on the tail in the top 3. Of course, he just set the fastest lap, but I think that'll drop down a fair bit from all of them. SDRT Wazadon up to 4th place now with all that damage that went on. So that's a good start to the race for him. And Loudy Dark Mist on the edge of the top 5 with Ridwan F1 close behind. So we're 3 laps into this one. The opening race of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. And we've got some nice little battles shaping up already. Be interesting to see whether Loudy Dark Mist can make a dent on Wazadon at all, or whether Wazadon will be able to maybe stretch that advantage a bit. Of course, the one factor that you have to consider is probably the aero wash from these GT500 race cars that you can find in the Group 2 category on Gran Turismo 7. So the larger rear wings creating more disturbance in the air could make things slightly harder to follow the car in front, which may make overtaking a bit more difficult. As Wazadon gets out of shape coming out of the final corner, that's the opportunity that Loudy Dark Mist needs. He's moved ahead of Wazadon, taken over 4th place here. As we look a bit further down the field, Gaban's running in 7th place at this stage. He's got N-Spud P666 in pursuit. And then coming for you, sitting in 9th place. Just a little bit further back, and then Lurox 22 rounding out the top 10. Lurox has Duram 50 close behind. EBM Brandos are also in this little pack here, battling it out for the last spot in the top 10. Looks like Duram has a little bit of a run. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move down into this hairpin, although Lurox runs wide there, so that'll open a door for Duram to get a run on him as they head through the chicane of death. probably not where he's going to want to take a shot at overtaking. And it looks like the cleaner air from Lurox has just given him that bit of an advantage that he needs to hold on to this position. As Duran wasn't able to get a clean run through there. And Loudy Darkmist has taken on damage. He's heading to the pit lane, and it looks like N-Spud has as well. So maybe the chicane of death has collected a few victims early on in this race. Unfortunate for both drivers, as it's going to put them well down the order of this race. Endo 787 coming out just in front of Loudy Darkmist. So a bit of work to do there. A bit further up the field, it looks like Disappointed has made his way past Diswood. So the It's Racing Esports driver moving up the second. Not sure if there was a bit of a mistake there from Diswood. I'm assuming that might be the case. And that's given Disappointed the opportunity to get ahead. But now he's got his work cut out for him as he tries to fend off Diswood. As he's closed up right behind him. Hot on the tail of the It's Racing Esports driver in his own Honda NSX. Of course, Diswood, the CP Motorsports driver. Looks to be lining himself up for a pass here. Doesn't quite have enough to get the job done. But he's certainly following very closely behind. Probably one of the few drivers that are able to closely follow. Be interesting to see what happens as we get to these high-speed S's heading down the hill. This is where it becomes a bit more difficult to follow along behind. Although Diswood certainly doing a good job there of keeping pace with Disappointed as he heads down towards the Seaside hairpin. Diswood really closing in there on Disappointed. Looked like a little bit out of shape there, but Diswood still managing to keep it under control as we head into the final corner here. Looks to be one of probably the more significant battles that we have on the track at the moment. Although Diswood still doesn't quite have enough to get ahead. Disappointed doing an excellent job of holding him off. Really keeping it smooth and clean so far. Although I'd hate to put the commentator's curse on him, as usually happens. This time around it looks like Diswood's a little bit closer. He's gone purple in the first sector. But yeah, as he gets to that S, as he really struggles to keep control of the car. You can see him out wide. Though it looks like he might be... No, he's still not close enough to have a pass. But he's searching all over the track trying to find some clean air, best traction he can possibly get to get a run on Disappointed. He may just be better served to just sit back for a bit and maybe just keep the pressure on, keep that half-second gap. Keep Disappointed worried and maybe pressure him into a mistake. I feel like that might be one of the few ways around, unless you can just get a good run and a good slipstream down one of these straights, which I feel might be possible, but no, it's still not quite enough here. I think he really needs to get under that 0.2 of a second gap before a corner before he can really make a move into one of these deep braking zones. Oh, there's a bit of contact there as I head into the hairpin of turn 5. And Diswood's taken some damage as well, so that's really going to affect the handling. Although I think That's a bit strange, because now they're actually going side by side. Maybe Disappointed's got some damage we don't know of, but they're running side by side down into the bottom hairpin. And this is going to carry on. No, it isn't going to carry on through the chicane like I thought. Disappointed probably using a bit wiser head and just backing out of that one. Probably the last thing you want to do is go too wide through that chicane. It'll certainly be a recipe for disaster between the two of them, and you'd probably end up with two very mangled race cars. As we look a bit further down the field, SDRT Wazadon putting in a fine effort here. He's sitting in 4th place at this stage. The consistency certainly paying off for him. And coming for you, he's making a charge into the top 5 now. He's certainly doing a fine job filling in the shoes of Punts, as he's already up into the top 5 after that damage on lap 1. And he's looking to close in on Wazadon. I think it's a matter of time before 4th position is his, as he's really right up in behind that rear wing of the Shade On Racing Team Nissan. Unfortunately, that aero wash really killed him there through those S's. Saw that gap rip. Now it's nearly dropped out to a second. So, oh, and he's just made a mistake there. A bit too deep on the brakes. That's going to cost him as well. That's really seeing coming for you. Drop that gap to Wazadon. That's really opened back up again. He's going to have to go to work and try and make up that ground all over again. Work on a way to get ahead. Meanwhile, Duram is closing in the number 50 East, well, CP Motorsports Honda. So coming for you, heading to pit lane. I'm thinking that'll be a bit of a strategy call. He'll head to the pit lane, bolt some fresh tyres on, hopefully go for the undercut here. And that'll be his path ahead of SDRT Wazadon into 4th place. Although he's come out into a bunch of traffic, including Loudy Dark Mist and N-Spud P666, who have taken advantage of some fresher tyres earlier on in this race, as they've had to make pit stops for damage. There's Loudy Dark Mist and N-Spud side by side, and N-Spud off the track and sideways. Really out of control there. Amazingly, he gathers it back up without any damage. That could have been a lot worse, but now he drops a position to coming for you. And that was probably an easy overtake there for coming for you. So really what he probably needed if he wanted to jump ahead of SDRT Wazadon. You really need to make up that position at least with minimal fuss. The only problem is maybe he might get held up by Loudy Dark Mist as he closes in. Let's have a look and see. Wazadon hasn't reacted to this move, so he's going to stick it out. Maybe hope for some fresher tyres towards the end of the race, help him to come through. Maybe sticking to his own game plan, not letting himself be affected by what the drivers around him are doing. As Duram 50 looks to be closing in that gap a little bit. Probably gained about a second in that last lap, so he's closing in as well. It might be worthwhile considering for him to maybe jump to the pit lane and get that fresh set of tyres and go for the undercut himself. Or possibly wait it out and go for the overcut on Wazadon. Gaban's sitting in 6th place at the moment. He's about 8 seconds off the pace of Duram, and then a further 8 seconds back from Loudy Dark Mist. I feel like he's probably going to lose out a bit here though, as he hasn't made a pit stop yet, I don't think, except for the lap 1, lap 2 pit stop that he made. I think it'll be a big ask to go 23 laps on a set of soft tyres, but who knows, maybe it's possible if you look after it. But I don't think he'll be able to get himself that far up the order. I think he's going to be in to lose a lot of positions towards the end of the race as the guys at pit catch back up to him. Coming for you's closed up. He's got a half a second gap to Cloudy Dark Mist. He's really on a charge here, looking to get that lap times that he needs to jump ahead of Wazadon in the pit cycle. He's had a good run out of his hairpin here. The only problem it will be hanging on to the car as he heads through these S's. It's really tough with that aero wash from following the car behind. Especially if you're in close, it's just really hard to get that grip you need to take the corners at a speed that can keep you behind that car in front. So track position really is going to be key here throughout these races. You really don't want to get stuck behind the car that you might be only half a second faster than, but you can't quite get enough to get past it. Although, as I speak, Coming For You is heading down the inside of Cloudy Dark Mist, trying to make the move here. Gabans is obviously peeled off in the pit lane, so he's going to drop down the order a bit. But Coming For You and Cloudy Dark Mist running side by side through turn 1. Coming For You's got the inside line for turn 2, 3. Looks like he's got the job done here. So Coming For You up in the 6th place at the moment. Of course, the likes of Duram 50 and SDRT Wazadon yet to pit, so I can imagine that maybe he'll jump up the 4th place through this cycle. This would obviously just completed his pit stop. And looks like someone's had an off here. It's Ridwan F1, so he's into the wall here. Really caught out by the chicane, and I think he's gone well and truly a lap down here, so a bit of a struggle there for Ridwan, and it looks like someone's dropped out of the race as well. I'm going to have a guess and say that that was Endo 787, so Disappointed completes his pit stop. He comes out ahead of Coming For You. SDRT Wazadon, he's completed his pit stop as well. Where does he come out? He comes out just behind Coming For You, so good strategy call there from Coming For You. He's used that early pit stop to leapfrog Wazadon. And he's really timed it to perfection actually, because the gap that he's got over Cloudy Dark Mist wasn't able to have enough of a gap to come out ahead of Wazadon. And now Cloudy Dark Mist has Duram on his tail as well. So a great little battle here. We've got about 4 cars all fighting it out for position 5 at the moment. But Duram 50 looking very racy there as he comes out of the pits on fresher tyres. Gets a run out of this final Seaside hairpin as he heads through the bus stop chicane of death. Just doesn't quite have the grip there to hold on behind Cloudy Dark Mist, so give me a bit of a struggle there. N-Spud P666 just sitting close behind. Oh, Cloudy Dark Mist is heading to the pits again, so not sure what's happened there. Oh, both drivers are in, so they're going to have to go for a 2-stop strategy because of the earlier incident. So that's freed up Duram 50. Now he can chase after SDRT Wazadon and hopefully gain a top 5 position out of this. But Wazadon doing an excellent job at the moment. He's kept it smooth and clean. Barring any incidents, I hope I haven't put the curse on him, but he's certainly doing a great job so far. Fingers crossed he can get through to the end of this race without any incidents, keep it off the walls and secure himself a really good position to start off his 2022 Trackstars Touring Car Series campaign. As he gets a little bit out of shape there through the Death Chicane. But I think Duram was equally out of shape, so it didn't hurt him too much in the grand scheme of things. As we look a bit back up the front of the field, Speedy Tyres has a 4.8 second advantage over Diswood so far. He's really taken control of this race. Put the gap out to Diswood. Though Diswood be aiming to charge up the field in the closing laps. I feel like between these two drivers though, given how evenly matched they were in the CP Motorsports Hondas in the Enduros last year, you would say that they were pretty well equal to each other in terms of pace. And I know from discussions and feedback it was very close between the two as to who would actually do a shootout lap in qualifying between them, as there was very little separating them. Although as I say that, Diswood's probably taken a couple of tenths out of Speedy Tyres, although some of that may have been Speedy Tyres, even though it was pretty simple to negotiate with Ridwan. He might have lost a little bit of time there. So Diswood running in second place. He's got a 9-second gap out to Disappointed, so he's sitting pretty comfortable in this top 2 position. Maybe the race win might be up for grabs, but if he keeps it clean from here on in, he should be guaranteed a top 2 position. I'm Disappointed having a bit of a lonely race there in 3rd place. He's got 9 seconds to Diswood and then 11 seconds to Coming For You. So probably something I just missed actually in the last couple of laps. Duram 50 up into 5th place ahead of SDRT Wazadon. Looks like Wazadon's taken a bit of damage, which is really unfortunate. He was having a great run there up in 5th place and even as high as 4th at one point. I imagine, yes, he's going to be heading straight for pit lane. And that Shade-On Racing Team Honda, sorry, Nissan actually, don't know why I said Honda. Could say I'm having a bit of a Chase Elliott-like mix-up between Bristol and Daytona. Thankfully I am in the right location this week though, so not able to miss out on this action. But Wazadon comes out from taking his repairs. I don't think he actually changed tyres, so he's going to come out in 9th position. Still holding on to a top 10 place so far. Cloudy Dark Mist and N-Spud P666, they're still sitting 6th and 7th. it's probably an impressive run considering they've been forced onto a bit of a two-stop strategy, so looks like in the grand scheme of things they're probably showing some good pace. Just unfortunately caught out by some mistakes. Maybe one of them got into the wall and the other had nowhere to go, so might be two drivers to watch out for in race 2 as we head into the closing stages of this one. We've got about 6 laps to go in the opening race, and that looks like Ridwan F1 heading through pit lane again. Unfortunately, he's had a very torrid time of things. Looks like the two satellite cars, as far as the finishing order goes, the sandwich and the rest of the field is the filling. As both drivers bookending the first and last positions on the road. Of course, looks like Ando 787 dropped out of the race early on. We'll just cycle through a bit. Gap's down to 3 seconds now between Speedy Tyres and Diswood, so this might be one to watch out for in the closing laps. We're down to 5 laps to go here. And Speedy Tyres heads to the downhill S's section. I think the game, or maybe my connection's just having a little bit of a glitch there. With that in mind though, Diswood is really tearing out chunks of time, so this could be a battle for the lead sooner than we maybe anticipated. Could be looking at maybe in the next 2 or 3 laps that Diswood is on the tail of Speedy Tyres and fighting it out for the win here. As Diswood really putting the hammer down as he tries to reel in Speedy Tyres. I'd have to say that's probably one of the closest battles on track. Everyone else seems to be very spread out, so this may be something that we can follow along with as we come 4 laps to go. And Speedy Tyres in the Satellite Racing Nissan leading the way from Diswood 1 in the CP Motorsports Honda. And Diswood, what was at one stage a 4-5 second lead at one point that we checked, is now down to 1.8 seconds. So he's really getting into that, well, starting to get into that zone where maybe the aero and the dirty air might affect him a little bit, but we'll see whether he can press forward and close in on Speedy Tyres. Maybe stake a claim at winning this race. But he's really punching in the purple sectors now. This would be very desperate to really make the first claim to the points on offer in this 2022 season. Get his season off to the perfect start. And of course it would be the best way to start your title defence with a win, as he just sets the fastest lap of the race there. Crosses the line with a 1:21.475. And the gap now is down to 1.4 seconds. As we're just now down to 3 laps to go. So this will be the one to really look out for, as Lurox just has a bit of a moment there from 9th place. Let's see what happens. I think he's got enough of a gap. Or maybe not. I think Broccolilli's going to come and take that position from him, and so will SDRT Wazadon. Wow, that's a lot of damage there for Lurox. He's really going to be struggling back to pit lane with that one. And Wazadon closed up to the back of Broccolilli. Broccolilli's got a penalty over his head, so Wazadon might just be better off sitting back, not pushing things too hard. Just really claim that spot, as Broccolilli has to serve his penalty. which I assume will be a straightforward overtake for Wazadon. So yes, here comes Brockaloo to serve his penalty. Wazadon's going to go flying past. Brockaloo does the right thing, gets off the racing line, makes the job easy and less complicated. Oh, Wazadon all out of shape there. Really gathered it back in though. That was a good effort there. Very easy to lose control and find yourself in the wall. But let's head back to the front. Looks like the gap stabilised a bit there, so not sure if there may have been a bit of gamesmanship there from Ridwan, who's gone a lap down, maybe made things slightly more difficult, who knows. We definitely don't know unless we actually see it with our own eyes, but now Diswood really taking that time down underneath a second now. So we're on the penultimate lap of this race, as it looks like a bit of a messy corner there, so the time he did gain, he's sort of dropped back again, although through the chicane. Oh no, he's into the wall. Diswood is into the fence, and that is massive damage there to Diswood. Diswood's clouded the wall, taken on some heavy damage, and then Ridwan, I think he's tried to go around him, maybe expected Diswood to take the racing line, but really ploughed into the back of Diswood there. And that is definitely not what Diswood needed. The tour to pit lane, that's going to hand over the second position to Disappointed, who will gladly take that runner-up spot. That's be a good start to the season for him in the number 95. But out in front, this guy has taken the lead from the start. Brilliant start from him. And really controlled the race from that point onwards. A late onslaught from Diswood, although it all came to naught in the end, as Diswood fell victim to the chicane of death. But Speedy Tyres is heading through now for the final time in race 1, as he heads towards victory and a debut win for the Satellite Racing team here in the Trackstars Touring Car Series. Although the likes of Viper's Ed, who is the team manager, has taken victory for Pit Lane Esports, but now Speedy Tyres crosses the line and takes victory in race 1. A dominant victory in the end. A big margin over Disappointed, who himself makes his debut for the It's Racing Esports team. He rounds the final corner and makes a run to the finish line. He'll take position 2 in this race. The main benefactor from Diswood's mistake, as the defending champion heads around the final corner now, and he'll round out the podium. Ridwan F1 crossing line 13th. Broccoli taking the top 10. There's Dram 50 coming across the line in 4th. Coming for you, the lead Mash Spuds Racing Lexus in 5th place. As we have Loudy Dark Mist, who's rounding the final corner. He looks to take 6th place. I'm assuming there might be some damage for N-Spud. Yes, there is. So N-Spud in 7th. He's had a bit of damage, cost him a bit of time. He'll cross the line in 7th, though. That's still a good result after 2 pit stops. Lurox crossing the line in 11th. SDR2 Wazadon in 9th, and then Gabans, of course, he'll cross the line and secure 8th place. So there we have it. Speedy Tyres hammering in the first stake as he takes victory in race 1 of the Trackstars Touring Car Series for 2022. So we'll take a short break here at Track Stars Touring Car Series. Of course, congratulations to Speedy Tyres on eventually a comfortable victory in race 1 by 20 seconds over Disappointed, and then the hard charging Diswood, who unfortunately took damage but still recovered to take 3rd place. So there's your 3 podium winners, and we'll be back shortly. We'll come back with race number 2 for the night here at the Track Stars Touring Car Series. Welcome back everyone. Looks like they're just trying to sort out the grids for race number 2. Obviously there's a few issues with this Gran Turismo 7 game. One of them, the inability to sort grids based on the previous race results. Something that was common in Gran Turismo Sport, and then obviously as a fallback we could have manually set the grids as well, but that just doesn't seem to be an option here. So trying to do a bit of a plan to make sure that everyone starts in their rightful starting position for race number 2. The positive out of this though is that at least we can play around and get a few onboard shots. Don't know about anyone else, but I really do enjoy looking at this viewpoint. Essentially riding in the passenger seat of the Group 2 cars as they send the drivers across the line one by one. Let's hope that they can actually set different qualifying times in theory, and then they should all be in the correct order. So one thing that will definitely come from this, obviously the 3rd and 4th place by the CP Motorsports pairing, that'll be a good points haul for the team's championship for both of those drivers. And of course the CP Motorsports team, I'm sure will be happy to take an early lead in the team's championships. As we get Loudy Darkness crossing the line. And Spud P666 and put down his marker. Gaban's now on his way across the line to set himself as 8th place starting position. Probably not the most ideal way of doing things, but unfortunately with the challenges presented to us from Gran Turismo 7, it's just one of these things we're going to have to do in the meantime until the game developers give us those fixes that we probably desperately need. I know personally on the streaming side of things it would be great to have a keyboard function as well, like we saw in Gran Turismo Sport, rather than manually cycling through a grid order. Also the replay function would come in very handy for some of those collisions that we see on track. So the grid order for race 2. Speedy Tyres starting off pole position. DJSX Pointed, or Disappointed as he's known more commonly, will join him on the front row. CP Motorsports pairing of Diswood 1 and Duram 50 3rd and 4th. Coming for you, and Loudy Darkness on row number 3. And Spud P666 and Gabans on row 4. SDRT Wazadon in 9th, Broccolilli in 10th, rounding out the top 10 obviously. Then we've got Lurox 22 in 11th, EBM Brandosa in 12th, Rid1 F1 13th, and then rounding out the field will be Ando 787. I'll sneak a quick break in, hopefully we'll be going racing very shortly. So we're back, ready to go racing here. Race number 2 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. And it's lights out. And we go racing here in race number 2. Great start there from Diswood as he aims for the gap. I'm going to have to quickly jump out and jump back in. So Diswood heading towards the lead in the turn 1. Side by side with Speedy Tyres. They really fight and argue over that position into turn 1. And it's Speedy Tyres who comes out in front again. N-Spud P666 jumps up the 3rd place. Good start from him. Disappointed, dropped from the front row down to 4th. And there's Coming For You in 5th. Looks like he's made a move there. No, he didn't quite pull it off. So Coming For You holds on to that top 5 position. Duram 50, Loudy Dark Mist and Broccolilly rounding out your top 8. As we head down the downhill S's for the first time. Loudy Dark Mist hot on the tail of Duram 50, trying to make his way up the order. But he's going to come under pressure from Broccolilly, who makes a move down the inside. Doesn't quite have enough to pull off that move. EBM Brandosa down in... He's made a move up into the top 10. And Ridwan, his day is just continuing to get worse. He's taken on damage on lap 1. Ando suffering the same fate. Lurox has got massive damage as well. Unfortunately, Lurox's misfortune from 2021 has just followed him into 2022. After finishing 2nd in the 2020 season, he's just been having a torrid time of things ever since. And yes, a swarm of cars disappointed into the pits as well. Wow, there's 4 cars in pit lane fixing up damage. Not the start they wanted to have. SDR2 was it on. He had such a good run early on in race 1. He's now in the pit lane down in 12th place. Broccolilly 13th. Lurox 14th. Speedy Tyres out to 1.2 second lead already on lap 2 of this motor race. Diswood in pursuit again. He'll be hoping to keep a closer distance to him this time around. Hopefully not put himself under as much pressure later on in the race. And Spud P666, he's rounding out the podium at this stage, but he's got his teammate right on his tail. I'm sure it's very early on in the season for team orders to be taking place, so I imagine that both cars will be able to battle it out early on. I'm sure these 2 guys will be looking forward to having a good haul of points. And then of course it looks like whatever happened to Disappointed, I'm not sure if he hit the wall at the chicane of death or whether there was contact at some point during the lap, but that's promoted Duram 50 back up into the top 5. Then we've got Loudy Dark Mist, EBM Brandosa looking for a way up the order. He was outside of the top 10 at the start of this race. He's now up to 7th thanks to the misfortunes of some of his fellow competitors. He'll be looking to make amends for what was a shocking first race and really get some points on the board and kickstart this campaign and maybe build some confidence. So we've got Cabans in 8th, Disappointed in 9th. Ridwan, engine heavy damage there again, so not sure what's happening. I think he's thrown in the towel now for this event. Really hasn't gone to plan for him. I'm sure he would have expected better results from this opening round. Thankfully though, he can drop this round. Maybe this will be one of his 2 worst rounds. And Lurox in the wars again. He's now the last car on the track. Promotes Ando 787 up to 12th place. Wazadon heading to pit lane with some damage. And N-Spud's taken on some damage as well, so he's dropped down the order. That's promoted Coming For You into position number 3. Duram up to 4th. And now N-Spud's going to come under pressure here from Loudy Dark Mist, who with a healthy car will be able to carry a lot more speed. But N-Spud is holding on to that position, going to make things difficult as possible for the likes of Loudy Dark Mist and EBM Brandosa. And someone's into the wall there. That's Coming For You. Coming For You's also taken on damage as well. EBM Brandosa's made his way past Loudy Dark Mist into 6th place. That's soon going to become 5th. Loudy Dark Mist has taken on damage as well, so now Brandosa is up to 4th place. Diswood's taken damage as well. Everyone's in the wars here. It's absolute chaos at the moment. Cars taking damage everywhere. And from all of this, N-Spud's dropped from 3rd down to 5th, all the way back up to 3rd again. And EBM Brandosa from outside the top 10, he's up to 4th place in this race. Keeping it nice and clean so far. Vaulting himself well up the order. And it's now Duram 50 and Speedy Tyres that are your first 2 cars. Looks like Speedy was getting out of shape there, but I think that's just the lag from the game. Looks like Speedy Tyres got a bit of a gap now over Duram 50, so he'll be feeling very comfortable at this stage of the race. And EBM Brandosa, he's now jumped into the top 3, so from well outside the top 10, EBM Brandosa on the podium positions here in the opening stages of this race. A great run there from the number 34 driver of the It's Racing Esports car. Of course, a brand new driver pairing for the It's Racing Esports team. As myself jumping into the commentary box, being replaced by Disappointed, and then Gabans, who made his way over to the Intercontinental Esports Racing Group, has been replaced by EBM Brandosa. So this will be a great start for Brandosa after what wasn't a great opening race. He'll be hoping to carry on this form throughout the rest of the race. N-Spud, amazingly, he's pushing on with the damage he's got. It has to be slowing him down phenomenally. Having tested it myself during the week, what happens when the damage happens, and even experiencing it in the TS2 races when other drivers took on damage, and also myself taking on damage, it really slowed us all down. So got to admire N-Spud for pressing on with this situation here. And it looks like Brandosa's taken damage as well, so this might be a good reason why he's carried on. So Brandosa, unfortunately his good run has come to an end here. He's going to be dropping down the order now, although it's a good opportunity to make a pit stop here. Maybe he can try and push on to the end. I do imagine that he'd probably be forced onto a 2-stop strategy, as now Disappointed heads through into 4th place. I imagine he'll be quickly closing in on N-Spud P666 and hunting down that 3rd position, the final spot on the podium so far. I think this will be an interesting battle between a whole bunch of cars here, as Gabans and Coming For You side by side through the downhill S's. A lot of respect there between the 2 drivers, giving each other plenty of room. Although contact between, I think that was Loudy Dark Mist and Gabans, and I think Loudy Dark Mist he had looked to slow down, but I think now that Gabans has taken damage and lost a bunch of positions. He's decided to carry on, so unfortunate contact there between the two. That might be something the stewards have to look at post-race. And now Brandosa back up the 6th place after taking on that early damage. And coming for you back into the top 5 as well. N-Spud finally... Oh, he's taken engine damage. That's why he's headed to the pits. This minor damage probably would have been enough, but now with the engine damage, I think that's just going to be a bridge too far for him. So he's forced himself in the pit lane. That promotes Disappointed up into the 3rd place. We'll see whether Disappointed actually hangs on to this position, because it seems like no one wants a spot on the podium at this stage except for Duram 50 and Speedy Tyres, who's now out to a 7.4 second lead in this race. Speedy Tyres really being the class of the field. Kept it clean so far through the first race and 8 laps of this second race. And really stretching out that advantage. It's now out to a 7-second lead. And I'm sure Duram 50 would be really comfortable there, sitting 18 seconds ahead of Disappointed. He probably knows that it's very likely he just has to keep it clean from here. Mistake free. Maybe not push as hard as he needs to in other races. And really just make sure he brings it home, because 2nd place really is his for the taking in this one. Disappointed, rounding out the top 3 of course. I'd say the gap might stay steady between himself and Coming For You, but looks like Coming For You's just bringing that gap down slightly. Loudy Dark Mist now taking on damage. I think maybe we should just set up a camera at the chicane of death and watch everyone hit the wall there. Probably be the more viable option. As Lurox now, after his terrible start, he's now back up to 9th place. Where's Gaban sitting? He's in 11th. I think Loudy Dark Mist might come out in front. Be a close call here. Yeah, I think he's going to have enough to hold on the 10th spot here. Says we've got 13, but it looks like there's a driver missing, so... might be something to look out for. So I think Ando has left a room as well, so that's him done for this weekend. As I'm just doing a bit of management of YouTube as I speak, while trying to still remain involved in this race with the commentary. I'm just gonna have to yep, so that's all sorted for now. So Speedy Tyres still holding that 7-second advantage. Wazadon out of control there, just gathers it back up. He has been doing a good job of that. He did that earlier in race 1. Really doing a good job of gathering those moments back up and keeping it off the wall, which is what you want. As we've got a battle on here for the final place in the top 10 between Gabans and Loudy Dark Mist. Loudy able to keep himself really tucked in behind Gabans. Looking for a run down the hill here. Looks like Gabans is just going to let Loudy Dark Mist go here. So he'll take over 10th place in this race. As we're 10 laps into this one. Still seems to be relatively spread out besides this battle for 10th spot. So it's all really spread out amongst all the drivers around here. Really, it's just that battle for 10th, that even that spread out as well. Loudy Darkness has taken that advantage out to a second. Speedy Tyres' lead is now nearly out to 9 seconds over Dram 50. This might be a good opportunity to just run on board with him for a little bit. Although, as I say that, EBM Brandosa, he's taken on damage. He's heading to pit lane. Probably a great opportunity at the halfway stage to make a pit stop. Get a fresh set of tyres and try and go to the end of this race. So Brandosa comes out of the pits. He takes on 7th position. And Diswood now back into the top 5 after his early incident. He's 16 seconds back on Coming For You, so a lot of ground to make up later on in this race. It's a 5-second gap between Coming For You and Disappointed for this final podium spot. Dram 50 heading towards pit lane now. He's going to complete his pit stop, fulfill his requirements for the race. Hopefully that should see him through to the checkered flag, and he'll rejoin this race in 2nd place. Only a couple of seconds ahead of Disappointed, but I do believe Disappointed will be required to make another pit stop. Even though he has completed 1 pit stop already, I think the group levels will make it a requirement that he has to pit rather than any regulations. So Speedy Tyres, lap 13 of this race. He's heading towards the final corner. Let's see if he dives for pit lane or carries on for another lap. No, he's heading for pit lane, so he'll get his pit stop out the way. On lap 13 of this race. Right now he holds a 25-second advantage over Dram 50. Although that'll probably come back down to about 9-10 seconds as he comes out of pit lane. So Speedy Tyres comfortably completing his pit stop. Just 11 laps to go before he completes a perfect weekend and sweeps the first 2 races of this championship. So he comes out about 9.5 seconds ahead of Dram 50. So a solid gap there. He really just has to cruise to the finish line here. As Disappointed and Coming For You both make their pit stops. So Disappointed heading out with about a 4-second gap over Coming For You. So that'll be a nice little battle to watch in the closing laps. As we have EBM Brandosa rounding out the top 5 here. Diswood into pit lane. He's taken damage again. So has N-Spud. So that's not an ideal result for both drivers. I feel like maybe one of them's hit the wall, the others followed them in and had nowhere to go. And then SDRT was it on. Looks like he's getting to the end of his tyre life, so he's coming in for a pit stop. So not a good run there for Diswood or Spud P666. That's going to prove costly for both drivers as they come out in 10th and 11th position. Of course, there's a couple of other drivers that are much worse off. Speedy Tyres now has that gap out to 10.5 seconds, so he's really cruising away with it. And he's just punching in purple sectors, probably doing it for fun at this stage. As Jerem negotiates the lap car of SDRT Wazadon. Jerem's actually taken some aero damage there, so I'm not sure if that's contact between himself and SDRT Wazadon, so that'll be interesting to possibly look back on later on, as that's proven really costly. That might open the door back up for Disappointed to claim second place here. Although it's a 14-second gap, so it'd be very much dependent on whether Duram just heads into the pits or presses on and tries to make it to the end of this race. But we're about 9 laps to go, so maybe Duram's doing the maths, just working out that he can get towards the end with this one. But now the gap for that final podium position at this stage. Coming for You's taking it down to nearly 2 seconds. And he's just put in the fastest lap of the race here with 1:21.8. So he's really closed up this gap to Disappointed. And he's got his sights set on a podium position here. There's a nice little battle going on between the two teammates. Loudy Dark Mist and Lurox 22. Lurox 22, of course, filling in for Colin T24. So Lurox jumping up in the 7th place there. That was a relatively easy overtake there. So we talked about the misfortunes of Lurox earlier on in this race, but he's really recovered strongly and moved his way inside the top 10. And now with a 7th place position at the moment, you could really say that he's got himself into the top half of the field. As Duram, I think, has decided that this damage is too much, so he's in for a fresh set of tyres, some repairs to that damage. And he'll come back out in 4th place. He'll be looking to hunt down Coming For You and Disappointed for a spot on the podium in these final 8 laps. So yeah, I think the main battle we've got to look for here, between Disappointed and Coming For You, as it's a 2-second gap, of course. We'll have to keep an eye on Duram 50 in these closing stages as well, as it ticks over to 7 laps to go. We'll see if Duram can get himself back up the order. I was just about to say that Brandosa's sitting in that top 5, but he's dived for the pits. He's got a fair bit of damage on that car. Let's see what happens here. Does he come out in front of Lurox 22? Yes, he does. So Brandosa will hold on to that 6th position. And that promotes Broccolilli up into the top 5. But those tyres are looking really worn on the indicators, so he might have to make a late pit stop himself. Duram's lost a little bit of ground there to Coming For You, so maybe the push for a podium position might not quite be there. As Coming For You still has his sights set on Disappointed, although the gaps remain steady at about 2 seconds. We'll have a bit of a look around, see what else we can find on the track. It's about a 2-second gap between Brandosa and Lurox. Only a few seconds between Lurox and Cloudy Dark Mist. Gabans is about 15 seconds back. Diswood is on a charge. He's set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap. He's up into a top 10 position, but he'll be looking to jump up the order, maybe take 9th place from Gabans, even maybe push for an 8th or a 7th place finish. And then we've got Enspud, who's 30 seconds back. I think he's resigned himself to a bit of a quieter race now. So that gap's closed in. Oh, Disappointed's got damage. That'll explain why the gap's dropped between himself and Coming For You. So looks like Coming For You will be heading towards 2nd place. Although Disappointed's going to stick it out and try and hang on for a podium spot, as we've got 5 laps to go in this race. So the It's Racing esports driver, he's going to look to hang on out there. He may end up dropping down to 4th place at this stage as Coming For You heads down the inside. Looks to get that move done, but Disappointed comes back with the switchback and holds on to 2nd place. Really making life difficult there for Coming For You. I'm sure myself, along with everyone else, was expecting that to be a much more straightforward pass, but Disappointed really putting up a fight, and it looks like there's an issue there for Speedy Tyres. He's headed to pit lane, so not sure if he's taken damage at some point or he's just putting on a new set of tyres because he feels like it. But that's a pretty bold call there this late in the race, and especially with no fastest lap points on the line. All it takes is one mistake and that lead can be quickly erased. As the battle continues on between Disappointed and Coming For You. Coming For You making the move down the inside into turns 2 and 3, and I think this time around he's got the job done. So Coming For You now up into 2nd place. At this late stage of the race, I think he'll just drive away with things. Disappointed probably making the wiser decision to hang out there, avoid heading the pit lane with this minor damage at this point. I don't think there's really much to be gained from losing 15-20 seconds touring pit lane to repair that. He may come under threat from Duram 50 towards the end of this one though, so podium position still under threat, but I think by staying out on track he's probably made the wiser move. And if one of these guys happens to take on damage from the closing stages, he might be still looking at a podium position. So we're down to 3 laps to go. Speedy Tyres, 14-second lead after making that pit stop. Not sure if he did have damage or not, but I feel like he's, just going for that fastest lap. Bit of a probably unnecessary risk, I'd call it, but hey, I mean, he's probably gone for a bit of bragging rights over Diswood, his former partner in the endurance races last year. Of course, we should point out that Speedy Tyres was actually partnered up with EBM Brandosa for the 2020 Bathurst 1000, so he's a back-to-back winner of that race as well, so a bit later on in the season he might be aiming for a three-peat there. He seems to be one of the good luck charms, you could say, with the drivers, although I'd say that he's a very fast driver in his own right, as Wazadon has a spin there. Manages to avoid hitting the wall, so he'll carry on with that one. There is a fair gap between him and Enspud, but kudos to Wazadon for hanging in there, because maybe he's one of the few that have actually looked at the point system before the start of the season and realised that if you throw in the towel and take a DNF, you're getting a lot less points than you do if you just keep cruising around and finishing. And that could come in handy at the end of the season. As Enspud gets all out of control there, somehow manages to avoid the wall. And Gaban's just on the edge of the top 10. I think he'll cruise home to that spot. Diswood will be sitting in 9th. And it's very spread out amongst all the drivers, except for Duram 50, who's now closed into the back of Disappointed here. Disappointed, nursing home a wounded car. He will be trying to fend off Duram as much as possible, but I think he's going to be a sitting duck here, and now he's clouded the wall again, so that's going to see Duram cruise past, as Disappointed has taken on a lot of damage here. Is he going to head for the pit lane in this one? No, he's going to hold on to it. And amazingly enough, he's still in 4th position. Has Duram got his own damage? No, he doesn't, but you would think that Duram should easily make this move here, as we're now on to the final lap. And Duram makes a move along the inside. Surely it's going to be a formality to take 3rd position in this race, but Disappointed isn't necessarily going to give that up easily, as I'll go search for Speedy Tyres, who's headed down to the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, through the chicane of death for the one final time here tonight, as he's been basically flawless for the entire 250 kilometres of racing that we've seen here tonight in round 1 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. As he rounds the corner, the last corner for the final time, it's Speedy Tyres who sweeps the round 1 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series and takes victory here at Dragon Trail Seaside Circuit. Coming for you on his debut for the Mash Spuds racing team, he'll come across the line and take 2nd. And then it's Duram 50. He comes around the final corner and he'll claim the final spot on the podium in this 2nd race. Disappointed coming just behind in 4th place, nursing that wounded car home. And then Enspud in 11th. Gabans crosses the line to take the final spot in the top 10. SDRT Wazadon. Broccoli rounds the final corner now. He'll secure that top 5 position. I think he's bumped the windscreen wiper. I'm not sure if he's forgotten how to turn that off. He'll take 5th place. EBM Brandos crosses the line in 6th. Lurox 22 in 7th place. And then we have Loudy Dark Mist, who will be in 8th position. And then it's Diswood Coming around the final corner all sideways. I think he knows his spot's secure. He's having as much fun on the way to the finish line. So there you have it. We head on board now with the winner of round 1 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series. Speedy Tyres, a perfect weekend, pole position and 2 race wins to go along with it as well. And he'll leave Croatia with a perfect score in the points championship. Be interesting to see. I think maybe Disappointed might be second for the round. And then you're probably looking at someone like Duram 50 who may be in 3rd place. There's our 2nd place finisher coming for you. And then 3rd place, Duram 50. As they make their way back around the track towards pit lane. As this race wraps up. So big congratulations to Speedy Tyres and the Satellite Racing team. A perfect debut as far as Speedy Tyres is concerned from the Satellite Racing team. Not quite as perfect for Ridwan F1, his teammate, who unfortunately didn't have the best time and ended up as a DNF for this race. As we see Speedy Tyres in victory lane. So that'll do it for round 1 of the Track Stars Touring Car Series for 2022. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight, for watching the action. We'll be back the same time next week as the series moves to Italy and we head to the Monza circuit, where I'm sure there'll be some very interesting turn 1 action. Hopefully these guys can all keep it clean. But for now, I say farewell, and we'll see you all next week for round 2 of the series.